My dad used to go hunting.
Alright, go for it, man.
Me and my dad used to go to concerts together.
Yeah, me and my dad used to watch hockey together. Something fun to do, and I played hockey and so did my brother, so it's just something to do, bond over.
Eddie Lakin used to be a chef in fancy restaurants. Now he just wants to make you the perfect old-school hamburger. I stopped by one morning to ask him how he arrived at his versions of the American classics.
Chuck has a natural 80-20 ratio of lean to fat, so you don't really need to mix to get your ratio. And I tried doing some mixing with, I tried ribeye, brisket, and short rib, and I didn't really notice much of a difference. And for the added expense that those cuts represent, it didn't seem worth it to me. So we keep the meat in the freezer for 15-20 minutes, half an hour, and we have all the grinder parts in the freezer too, so everything's super cold when we grind the meat. It gives you a better grind if the meat is firm when you grind it, and it makes sure that the grinder doesn't overheat, because if it overheats, then the fat will start to melt and the finished product will be almost like the equivalent of a broken sauce. The first grind here is not as photogenic as the second grind.
So there was a really fatty piece that came out.
Yeah.
So that just get mixed together reasonably well in the second grind?
That's the second grind, right, exactly. Second grind, I got that from Michael Ruman's book.
Yeah. In your background, I mean, hamburgers really weren't a big part of what you cooked.
Really not. I mean, honestly, the only time I've ever ground meat was at Nacional we did chorizo, and at True we would use trim, and we would grind it to make staff meal. So, you know, you're not really too concerned with technique in those kind of situations. Well, at Nacional I was, but I was just a line cook, and I was just doing what the guy told me to do. I try to kind of let it fall into there rather than smashing it down, because I really want to try to keep as much air in the mix as I can. I don't want it to be all compressed, because that's one of the major differences between our burgers and the commodity burger, is that they're so pressed and smashed and compressed that it can be tough. You get almost like a rubbery snap out of it when you eat it. And with a fresh beef burger, it should be crumbly, and loose. It's not rocket science. The fries were a lot harder.
It's not rocket science, and yet there's so few places doing that.
I don't understand, honestly, why it's not. I guess, you know, ordering a box of burgers is a lot easier than doing this, but the finished product is drastically better with this fresh beef. I mean, there's like no comparison. And it's strange to me that, especially when you get up into like the $8 to $10 burger range, that people are still buying burgers.
You mean frozen patties?
Yeah, buying frozen patties, right. And I think those traditions kind of just got established, and then expectations got lowered, and people don't really think twice about the frozen hockey puck, and that's come to be a good burger.
That's when it's blended. It's really smoky in here. I have a super hot pan, and the trick is you want to get a good sear, and that's what people like. Really, one of the main things that people talk about the burger is the crispiness. So you want to make sure you start with a hot pan, and it does. I don't even need to put any oil in this, so it's just going right into the pan without oil. We cook our burgers on cast iron. Most people will grill their burgers or cook them on a flat top. So when we cook it on the cast iron, it kind of cooks in its fat, so the fat doesn't drain off as it's cooking. The decal fat is definitely one of the most important parts. It's super flavorful, and it adds a lot to the burgers. You see that sear that we've gotten? My preferred way that I like to eat the burger is with American cheese, with a hard sear, caramelized onions, and cooked medium. Not medium rare. I prefer my burger medium. So if somebody just wanted to think that I'm stupid because they only like serving mid-rare burgers or rare burgers, you know, it's like these are the type of problems that I try to avoid. Everybody's different and has their own, has their own way of eating it. So this is kind of my favorite part. These are the caramelized onions here. A nice color. They're a bit wet as well. So I'm going to toss these into the pan. Then the American cheese. I like to put American cheese on my burgers, and it also works perfectly. It's just the right gooiness, just the right texture, and just the right flavor. So now the wet onions are steaming, the cheese is on. I've actually turned the heat off, but there's residual heat here. And I'm going to just close it up, and it's kind of now the meat is resting and finishing, and the onions are getting their liquid through the meat as well. And so it adds a lot of flavor that way as well. It's kind of cool. The thing that I like about the burger is that it comes on a white bun, which is a very kind of nothing special bun. It's not a potato bun, it's not brioche bun. It's something that will appeal to people's sensory memory. It's like they want a cheap white bun on their burger. And what it does is when you put it on, when you eat the burger, it squishes down to the cheese and it squishes up to the meat on the bottom. So really, the bread at this point is really just keeping your hands clean. A lot of times when people eat burgers now, they come on these gigantic buns and they're too bready, and the meat to bread ratio is way off. And this is pretty much an all meat burger. You can.
overall, this experience with my father was one of the best experiences to date that I've had with him. I would never want to trade it for anything because of the special and unique relationship that we formed after the Burger Quest. I hope that this movie has inspired some of you to maybe try something new with your dad or find something unique and special that you and him have together and can always remember and can always go back to it, to that time that you did this. I will never forget, going to Lynn's Paradise Cafe with my dad and eating the most delicious burger I've ever had.